your boss will not remember what time you go home, but your kids do.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge that sometimes you can't do everything on your own. And I find that really helps.
Everyone should be like us, right? But boys are totally different.
You know, I was looking at these pictures with both a sense of pride and a sense of guilt, you know, to miss that milestone for her.
Should I have continued in my corporate world rather than do this so that I'll be able to give more? Okay, so I think what we've shared is very interesting. And there are times where I feel that I have to struggle between work and family. Ladies, I'm sure you have felt that too, right?
Yes.
Like to ask Shireen, because you have two boys. Yeah, I think the only one with all boys. She has all girls, you know.
No, I'm clever. I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah.
So I'm not only efficient, I'm productive.
Yeah, I don't have one girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the tips is to really remember boys are not like girls because we are mothers, right? So we tend to have this filter that everyone should be like us, right? But boys are totally different. And, this really came for me when I read the book Raising Boys by Steve Biddulph. And I think that was an eye-opener to me to be able to understand how to handle and manage my boys. So back to your question about juggling work and also family. Yeah, that's, I think, a constant battle. And I used to think that how I do everything is how I do anything. Right? So I try to do everything and I try to do anything. But over time, I think that exhausted me. And there are times where we have to really make a choice, right? And choose wisely when sometimes work do take a priority and when sometimes our children need to be a priority. So, and of course, the challenge is when both priorities come at the same time, right? And you cannot give in to one or the other. And end of the day, I think if coming from a HR point as well, we always talk about people, but at home, do we also practice that, right? People always come first. Tasks will always be there and work will never end, right? But one day when we are 80, 90, what will our children remember? Right?
Yeah.
Our bosses, our clients will always forget whatever task that we have done for them. But our children will never forget what we made them feel.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I read somewhere. It says, your boss will not remember what time you go home, but your kids do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my son used to call me when I went back after 9. He would call me at a young age. He would start calling me. Yeah. How about you with 4 children?
When they were small, I had this belief that, I'm expected to do everything and, expected to do it on your own. And I realized that's really not true. That's not true. It's been a lot easier now for me. I think my struggle now is because my children are already older. My struggle now is trying to find me time.
Okay.
Me time. Even though they are older, your mom instinct still kicks in. So I'm constantly texting them, checking on them. The one on campus, it's like daily night routine. How are you? Is everything okay? Even at work, we have a very active WhatsApp family group. And that family WhatsApp group is almost like our virtual living room.
Wow.
Because we only get to speak to one another once we're back. And that's sometimes at about 6-something, 7 at night.
Yeah.
And it's really active where, lunch pics are being updated. Funny memes they will be sharing, anything successes, any challenges they face. Even sometimes out of the blues, you will have an old family, childhood family pic coming into the group. So that helps us to stay connected.
Wow.
As I'm out there training and as they're all 4 out there doing their own things, I find that really helps. That really helps. And for me is I also remind myself, sometimes you just need to pause, take a deep breath. It's okay to say no sometimes. And I feel more importantly, it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge that sometimes you can't do everything on your own. And I find that really helps.
Just a quick question. Is your family supportive of your role as a trainer, working as well? And if so, how do they support you?
So my 4 kids are really, really supportive of me being an associate trainer. And I feel it works a lot because as an associate trainer, a lot of things that we train are things that we bring back to the home.
Oh, yes.
Be it coaching, be it the mindset program, be it change. So I really feel like I kind of like integrated both really well, the professional part of me and the nurturing part of me. It's not about having a balance, but it's about integrating both. And they have seen it. And, that really works. And of course, they are very supportive because every time I go anywhere, I'm buying something back. So that really works. So they're really happy.
I think that's called work-life integration. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lily, because you are an entrepreneur as well. Yeah. So how do you manage work and family?
Yeah, I think one thing I echo with what Cheryl said. I must say one of the best decisions I've made in my life. is choosing to be in this profession I'm in, and also to leave the 9 to 5 job. Yeah, so that helps me as a mother a lot. And another thing I find quite interesting as I'm hearing Shireen and Cheryl sharing here, I feel as because of a role, we are not lack of or not short of any tips or guidelines to help us with.
Yeah.
Tons. Yeah, we have lots and lots of it. Even if I pick up one of the worst or one of the smallest one, the most important thing is I put it into practice. Yeah, so a lot of times, again, another guilt comes in. I know so much, so what?
Yeah, knowledge.
Are you using it? Must do action plans, must have commitment plan. Yeah, so again, back to what we train, what we preach. Do we apply it? Do we do it even the tiniest little practice or tips we have?
Yeah, I think for all of us in a small way or otherwise, we definitely do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so interestingly, right? I mean, for me personally, there was a time where I felt guilty also as a mother. And that was when I first started off. And training sometimes if you have business, then you have income. Sometimes you don't. So I feel guilty when I see my kids' friends. They have nice big birthday parties. Like the party packs is like worth 50, 100 ringgit, and I definitely can't match that. So there's a guilt of, should I have continued in my corporate world rather than do this, so that I'll be able to give more. In fact, I remember for my son's birthday, all my kids have a big birthday when they are about 7 to 8 years old. And for my son, we had it in Kidzania. I saved the whole year so that he could have a big bash there.
Wow.
So because I didn't want them to feel as if they didn't have as much as others would. Yeah. So that was the guilt I struggled with. But of course, overturning it, I learned how to bake so that I don't have to pay 200 for a cake. So, yeah, so I learned how to
Have you delegated to them this cooking or baking skills?
Yes, they are really good. They have different skills. Yeah, so I learned how to do things myself. But definitely there was a point where people say, "Hey, let's go coffee for Starbucks." Wow, Starbucks is 14 ringgit, 15 ringgit. I drink at home only 1 ringgit. I had that type, and so I just wonder how did any of you do you struggle with any guilt or anything like that when it comes to family, children?
I think my guilt would definitely be the time, because as a trainer, we are sometimes traveling out of KL, and that takes up like 2-3 days. Occasionally, we do have training sessions which are like, 3-4 days consecutive, and that takes me away from the home. Not only that, when I come back, I'm tired. It's prepping for the next session the next day as well. So for me, the guilt is the time. And when they were children and when they were small, one of the ways that I used to help me with this guilt, because the guilt does sneak in. You try not to feel guilty, but it does sneak in when you're out there training and the 4 of them are at home and Kaka is looking after them. And what I used to do when they were kids is I'll make sure I buy something back, little toys or little treats. That was when they were small. Now that they're all grown up, I still buy things back, but it's changed. It's now food. So we are foodie.
Ah,
Our love language in our family is food. We love food. So, every time I come back, be it from a trip, outstation training, or, if I'm flying in KLA, then, it's all my go-to is always chocolates or, bakeries, things that we love. And one of the things that I also remind myself, when I'm with my kids, because sometimes in a week, we will have dinner together maybe 2 or 3 times. And I remind myself that it is presence, not perfection.
Oh, yes.
So we don't need to be there all the time with them, but the times that we are with them, we give it our 100% present, being with them, and it's doing the things that matters the most at those point of times. And I feel that has really helped.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. For me, talking about guilt, no? Actually, I didn't have guilt, as in guilt. Okay, not until I heard what Shireen said just now about the accessibility.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I also asked her just now what are the criteria for you to choose between the two, go back to sleep, work, or give that time and fulfill their needs at that point of time. Yeah, so now that I look back, a sense of guilt in me for maybe prioritizing more for my sleep well-being than giving the time at that. So I learned something that maybe today my commitment list.
Another
Action
check.
plan. Yeah, I will give that accessibility to the
Okay.
kid. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think guilt is a very big word that resonates with a lot of moms deeply, right? And it's whether we continue to pander to the guilty feeling that it grows, right?
Yeah.
So that's my constant challenge as well. Not to keep comparing what I could have done, what I should have done, etc. And sometimes hearing what Cheryl said just now, saying no to my children also becomes very important because they need to also know what mommy is doing, what kind of hard work that mommy is committed to. And this came out very, very strongly during the pandemic for me, for my children. I think before the pandemic, they used to say, okay, mommy dress up nicely, go out, drive the car, go to office, come back, still look nice, prim and proper. And, still you got all the nice things at home, etc. But when the pandemic hit, I think they saw how hard we parents work, especially we moms, right? Or during the office time, you're busy with your calls, virtual sessions, and then lunchtime, you're quickly preparing stuff, right? Because there's no access outside. And that's where they start to see what we sacrifice for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this guilt thing is, I think, not so much of us, we want to do more, but I think hearing from what Shireen say, it's also for them to understand what have we done, even for your kids, right? I think they would appreciate the cake you bake and it's what you do compared to what you give me. Yeah. Again, it's your effort of buying chocolates, food, or whatever, then what you bring home. I think that's something really, really important.
Yeah. Sometimes we see from one point of view, but later on find out, hey, the friends really wish their mother could bake them a cake too.
Yeah, you're right.
From the other side. Yeah.
And many people envy our lifestyle that we are able to spend time with our kids.
Yeah.
Many of them who still need to kind of like clock in, clock out, or maybe work overtime. They don't have I think they may not have the luxuries of choice at times.
No, I think also sometimes it's the working moms who are in corporate jobs as well. There is a different purpose for them as well, right? So they find different things, and that's where all of us are challenged and always in that guilt mode. Where if I don't do this, then I can't give that. If I am here, I will lose out on that. So there's always this win-win situation. So sometimes a win 80, win 20 kind of thing. And
take
what's
what we
enough?
can.
What's enough? What is enough?
Yeah, and what you say just now is when you put a stop to this guilt, because just like, for example, work-life balance. When you're working, okay, you wish that you have a balance. When you have a balance, you wish that you are working. So that's never balance if we keep flipping between the guilt thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. The grass always looks greener on the other side.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And I
It's a
think, you
mindset.
know, the children as they grow, they also start to realize it's not really so much about how long you spend with them, but those times that you are together,
Yes.
how do we really make it matter? You
Mm.
know, what we plan, the conversations we have, that's more important versus having a lot of conversations, but there's no depth to it, there's no bonding to it. You know, we don't really have that connection because we're always in a hurry. Right? And I feel they start to realize that. And I'm starting to focus on, you know, presence,
Yeah.
being present at those moments when I'm with them
Yeah.
versus focusing on the times when I'm not with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the engagement during the time you're with them, rather
Absolutely.
than just being there in presence, but we are engaging with them.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
worst is when they're with them, but we have guilt that we have something else that we have not done or fulfilled.
Absolutely. Then we're not being
Absolutely.
present with them.
Totally.
True.
Okay, so actually, I still have one more question to ask you. Okay, when you have to choose between family and work, to what extent will you go for? Like, I share with you an example. I was brought up in a family where my mom and dad. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but they have never attended any of my concerts or anything like that. So I really miss them. So when my daughter was in kindergarten, she had a concert and we had a trip booked to China. But because they sort of like postponed the trip, it fell on the date that was a concert. So what we did was there was a lot of kind of conflict with my husband and I, but in the end we forgo the trip so that I can attend her concert. Of course, my husband was clearly not happy because it meant a financial loss. But that is the extent I will go through to choose my child. So for you, what is the extent you will go through?
That's always difficult, especially when, you know, sometimes a lot of things that you plan doesn't, you know, work out in that way. For me, my priority has always been being there for my children's milestones, be it big or small. But I remember this, and there was this one occasion, and Shireen would know this. You know, this happened really recently last year, where my youngest girl, she had an award-giving ceremony in university.
Wow.
And I couldn't attend it because I was blocked for a training date, and the training couldn't be rescheduled because it was done outstation. It was in JB, I still remember.
dear.
And, you know, the client had already made all the preparations. And it was a tough decision. I had to fulfill that obligation, and I went ahead with the training program. And, you know, my daughter went to the university to do her award, you know, for her award giving ceremony. It was tough. It was tough because, you know, during breaks, when I'm in Johor, lunchtime, tea break, coffee break, I will see all the pictures coming in. And, you know, I was looking at these pictures with both a sense of pride and a sense of guilt, you know, to miss that milestone for her. And, well, I made it up for her because we came back and we had another celebration. And of course, you know, family love language being food. I took the early flight back. She loves chocolates. So I was able to get some of her favorite chocolates from the duty-free shop at KLIA. And I had already prepared a card. And I wrote, you know, as I was in Johor, I wrote, you know, a lovely long message on the card to tell her how proud I was. And I feel the children are starting to realize that, you know, sometimes, you know, with responsibilities, you will need to make tough choices like
Yeah.
this.
Agree.
And, you know, it teaches them that just because, you know, sometimes I need to do work, it doesn't mean mom doesn't love you any less. It just means that we are here to support each other. So my older two went for award-giving ceremony. They did the interview because she was being interviewed. And we had a really nice celebration after that. Very personal and intimate one.
Oh.
So it kind of worked out. But it's something that I've always struggled with. And I have had to miss family trips. So, you know, hubby and the children will go and I'll be in training.
Yeah.
Johor again. I'm not sure why Johor. I still remember it was many years ago.
We saw
I was
any
in
job in Johor anymore.
and that was with Lily. And you know, they were still small, so you know we had a family trip. I just couldn't attend, so they had to go with with the father and with daddy. And I guess it teaches them that sometimes you will have to make tough decisions. As much as we would love to make hard decisions and nice decisions, sometimes it's not possible. You can't help it.
Yeah.
What you do after that is important.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know. I just have this question in my mind, which okay. Anyway, what I'm trying to ask here is are these okay, talking about all these milestones, yeah? This expectation is you have that you as a mom's role that you need to attend, or your kids say that mom, please is their expectation or yours?
I think it's a combination of both, because as a mom, you want to be supportive for your kids. You want to share in their milestones, in their celebrations, be it the ups and the downs. You want to be there for them. It's the same thing as well. My daughter had a relationship, then, she broke up, and I was, I want to be there for them. And I feel it's also an expectation that the children have as well. So it's the expectation that comes from both. But I feel expectations are expectations. How you manage it and how you talk about it and how you agree. What are some of the things that we want to do and we are unable to do? I think that becomes most important.
Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure to everyone when we hear that. Yeah.